Okay, hello you guys. Today we're talking with Megan Sillito. This is Jeneth Blackert with the Real Raw You Synergy podcast, and we are going to talk today about harnessing your genius, and not just harnessing your genius to be your greatness in life, but how can you harness your greatness, discover your magic, and from that space also become really clear on your message to the world, your purpose, so to speak, and how can you live it with ease and joy and glory. So Megan, welcome. Welcome to the call.
Thank you, Jeneth. I'm so excited to be here. I love what gets created in our conversation. So I'm so excited to see what might come through today.
Yeah. Well, you guys, let me just tell you a brief history on how I've worked with Megan. So, gosh, I probably started 4 or 5 years ago, and we were at an Access Consciousness class together. And at that time, I had just started my brand, Real Raw You, and I had kind of honed in on a message. And she came up to me and asked me just a couple questions, like, you're creating a little differently. I'd like to talk with you more. And we just had a brief interaction. And then after that, Megan, I don't know if we had some other conversations or you just reached out to me and said, I'd like to hire you for a coaching session. I think that you decided to just hire me for a couple sessions, and that was just the beginning of all of this. Do you remember? Did we have other conversations? We might have had like a pre-call conversation. Then you hired me for 1 to 3 sessions, and then during those sessions, as she was getting more clear about her creative process, she was actually revealing to me a lot of clarity about my creative practices. And we just kind of fell in love with, like, oh my gosh, whenever we are together, magic comes through. So we then decided to launch a program together, which is called Whisper Mapping, which is now something that I've stolen and made almost my own and taken into my new program, Quest. But if it wasn't for Megan, I'm not sure that I ever would have seen it the way and with all the energies and the frequencies involved in Whisper Mapping. So I'm infinitely grateful for it. One of the things that I noticed was it's sort of like you kind of innately create in a certain way, and then somebody points out to you, I noticed that you're creating different. And you're like, I am? Well, let's have a conversation about how you think I'm creating different. And then it became very clear to me that, oh my gosh, yes, I am. And there was an allowance about my creation, and it was a necessary allowance that I was asking for and seeking. And once it came through Megan showing it to me, and I could really acknowledge, hey, I create this way, there was this ease in my life that I felt like, okay, there's this energy and this consciousness that flows through me that I can create from that. And Megan, I mean, I've watched you grow and create, and you were a really well created coach even before you came to me. I guess, for the lack of a better word, right? Well created coach. You had years and years in the coaching industry. And you had teachers that taught you how to market. You had teachers that had taught you how to, really cultivate and bring clients to you. I mean, you were truly already the expert. You were just kind of seeing and exploring and trying something out. And Megan, what I know from you is you kind of always come from that curiosity, that, I wonder how they do it. And you really explore and work with people with no conclusion. I mean, you're like, there's no expectations, there's no conclusions. I'm just curious about how they coach, how they facilitate, and how they grow their business. And with that exploration through people, through your awareness, you've really created a phenomenal brand on Live Your Magic that you tour. You know, you just take it on tour, you know, globally. And it's been really inspiring to watch over the last 2 to 3 years, you just taking this Live Your Magic to these different places and spaces and introducing it to people so that they can really live their magic. So Megan, what would you say is, like, if you would have to explain, dear God, if you would have to explain Live Your Magic, what would you say that it is?
Well, I got clear recently that Live Your Magic is more of an event than a workshop. And it kind of has been, that information or that awareness has been bubbling through ever since I saw the movie The Greatest Showman. And I saw it several times and I just cried both times. And it's like, oh yeah, like I have always been a space for the weird, the unusual, what I would say the change makers of the world, because like if in order to change the world, you actually have to see the world in a different way. You have to be almost on the periphery to be able to see what the mainstream doesn't. And so I've always been this space for the very unusual beings to express those visions and that energy where there was no other environments that really received them. And so, like, Live Your Magic is, I call it these days the traveling transformational circus, because I tend to pull in these really phenomenal magic beings who create and look at the world in different ways, and they have talents and abilities and genius that is like off the charts, cool but weird. Like, wow, how do you market that? Well, how do you bring that in? And it actually starts with expression. And so Live Your Magic is this place where you have the space to express everything that you are. And in the process of the workshop, I'm tapping and turning up and turning on and giving that space for people to be who they are. And in fact, like being as lazy as I am, I don't like having to teach for 3 days. So I literally watch the magic rising in different people in the workshop, and then they actually become the facilitator in that 10 minutes or that 5 seconds or whatever it is, so people can see this is what it's like when you get turned on and up, and this is one way that you can express that. And then it tends to like kind of a leapfrog effect with the people in the space where they go, it taps something in them and they come alive and they bring that forward. And so it really is like, yes, I give tools and skills and I help people turn on and up their genius qualities. And, you know, that would be the sort of traditional way to talk about it. But it's bigger than that. It's really this space where magic grows and the potency of who people are is given a space and place to live and to breathe and then to become even more.
Yeah. And what I've noticed from the events that you're putting on is the people come really with, you know, hey, this is quote unquote a problem in my life. And they leave not just with space and clarity and maybe even no problem, but they also leave your events with this expanded awareness and tool set so that they don't really have to go back to any of their problems ever again. Can you share some of the awarenesses and stories that you've really walked away, that you've seen miracles and magic happen from the people at this event?
There are so many. And one of my favorite things that people are saying about the event is that they're sort of, they look at Live Your Magic as this sort of pivotal moment of, this was me before, this is me after. Because people are dynamically different after. And it's not, because of me, but it's because there was a space for something to come through that they hadn't believed was possible, or didn't know was, or didn't even maybe know was them, coming through. So, I've had stories from people like one gal in my event, married for, I think 15 years or something like that, hadn't even made her own money for years and years and years, was actually staying in the marriage because she didn't believe that she could do her weird stuff and make money. And, within 6 months of the event, she's making between $8,000 and $15,000 a month, and so it's a lot of times people hear the word magic and they think esoteric and they think woo-woo and fluffy, but the truth is that when we actually turn on or become available to that potency, and I kind of interchange magic, genius, and potency quite a bit, is that everything starts coming into fruition, and you can start to midwife these projects and these things that you didn't know you were capable of before. So that's, kind of one strong example. And others are I tend to find these people who are kind of magic hiding and on the side, and then they come out and are willing to be who they are. And I see them all over Facebook, showing their talent and their weirdness and growing audiences of their own. And even more than one of the really interesting things is I've had about 3 people come through the events that walked into the event having had chronic pain for years. And at some point in the event, the pain dissipated and didn't come back. And I think that magic is one of those things that it's if we don't express it, if we don't let it through, it's this big energy. Where does it go if you're suppressing it, if you're avoiding it, if you're hiding it? It goes into stress in the body, and it goes into behaviors, sort of non-working behaviors. And when you let it out, the body's whew, geez, thank you. I didn't want to hold on to that anymore, So, those are some, just offhand, some stories of what's available when you turn on and up that. And it's, there was a girl in my London event that, really was in hiding. She's huge magic, huge, force on the planet, actually. And she almost didn't come to the event because she was so nervous about being in public and going anywhere in public. She had kind of encapsulated herself in her house, but she'd been following me for years and I didn't know it, and she's I'm going to find a way to step through and be there. And it's really amazing to see the visibility that she's choosing now and willing and present in being who she is. And, there's so many stories like that. And I'm amazed. I mean, this is a 2.5-day event. And, people come to me and say, I got more change in this than this 7-day event that I went to, than this year-long training that I went to. And what I know, and they think, yes, I am magic, but that is the power of saying yes to the energies and the talent and the potencies in us, is that it changes everything.
Wow. There are so many people out there that I know that are like hiding, but they're kind of hiding incognito. Like they don't even know that they're hiding. So if you notice somebody that is hiding or, at least like skirting away, like maybe they show up a little bit and then skirt away, where would you start them with the processing to help them clear or get out of the way of doing that activity of sort of showing up?
Well, you got to show up for yourself first, right? And the way that I had a really great speaking and creativity coach, his name is Jack Barnard, and he, in his work, one of his things is expression. Well, if you express, whether it's to yourself in a journal, art journal, sing in the shower, whatever it is expression for you, it will lead to something that it will start to develop something that he called voice, which is, this is my voice, this is my message, this is who I am in the world, this is part of who I am in the world. And then that actually leads to a sense of vision or purpose of like, like for me, like it took me 20 years to realize that actually I'd always been doing magic, but I had to, like, I did workshops and I taught classes and I just kept following the energy, or what we call the whispers, and I kept expressing, right, in whatever form that I did, and then that kept leading somewhere else. And so if somebody is in that place of, I could never do a Facebook Live or whatever, it's like, yeah, there's a time and a place to challenge yourself and go, okay, I'm going to do a Facebook Live. And there's a place to start on a personal level. Like for me, there was a period of time where I wrote in a journal, like probably almost every day for a year, where I just went, whatever's on my mind, I'm just throwing it in there. I'm not gonna, if it's the grocery list, I don't care. I'm just going to write something. I'm going to take something from the inside of me and bring it outside. And the thing about expression is that you're matching the inside with the outside, and it's like when you start lining up, there is an energy that builds. It's like a catalyst, and it's almost like it starts building in such a way that it's really now hard to stop, because you keep finding other places and other ways that you would desire to express. And, there's all kinds of different expressions. Like, just because, like, you're on Facebook Live doesn't actually mean you're not hiding. You know what I mean? And it's like only you know what that form of only you know what that form of expression is for you. And there's a lot of people who are doing amazing work who you don't see on Facebook, you don't see on Instagram, but they're affecting change and they're affecting many, many people. Like when I came to you, one of the reasons I came to you was that at least ostensibly, like there was way more things why I was attracted to you than I knew, but like I had built a grassroots success. Like I had a local following, I had built everything from word of mouth and just doing good work and honing my craft, right? And then I was like, oh, but like I've always wanted to travel, and now I've created this whole space where I have to be in Salt Lake City all the time, and I had no idea about the online world. I had no idea where to even start or where to begin, and there was so much inauthenticity that I was like kind of dismayed by it all. And there was a way that you were being in the online world that felt like you were honoring yourself and that you were being true to yourself. And I was like, if I could find a way that I could be me and actually, because I had the secret desire that I didn't even know actually when I first started coaching with you, to be global, to work from the world, to go to different places in the world and connect in with the people and the land and all of that. And here I was stuck in Salt Lake City. So there was this place where I had organically expressed. Nobody knew who I was. I was like, people would say, you're like the best kept secret ever, And it was, in a way, I did what I knew. It was my own form of hiding, in a way. And there was just this thing that happened in my conversation with you where I was like, oh, there is a way for me to create in my wild, wacky way, right, that I could bring online, that I could grow myself, I could grow my reach, and I could still be me. And so my expression expanded because of those earlier conversations, and you gave me permission to do it my way and to take what I had done organically and bring it into a larger audience and do that with integrity. And, you know, I'll always be grateful for that, because it was just this place where I was like, I don't know about online marketing, but that resistance was my resistance to visibility, right? And so I think, you know, I've said before, it's like, how many damn closets do I have to come out of in my life? And it's like,
right?
I feel like unhiding yourself is a lifelong process, because we're infinite. And so you're always going to discover more about you. But if you keep expressing, it's this train that will keep revealing you to you. And before long, you will be able to be making the impact that you'd like to make. That's your way. And it doesn't have to be like being a global face. It could be in your community. It could be whatever it is for you, but keep expressing, because you will keep unhiding you through that process.
How beautifully said. One of the things that I kind of harnessed from that conversation was, there's truly three things, was really unhiding you allows you to show up and have a voice. And and what I know about you, Megan, is in some way you already knew what your voice was. Like, you're like, I have this voice. I have this grassroots business that you defined that way. And you're like, I'm ready to move and travel and be online. And that was kind of your thing. That was like, I'm going to seek this now. I'm going to uncover this now, which is just a part of your quest for more, your part of your journey. Was there a process that you went through to find your voice?
Yes, it was really opening my mouth. Like I said, like initially it started with me, like just like journaling, right? And like following the energy of like, oh, like I loved books on creativity. And I remember one time I was listening to some podcast, and they said, if you want to know what you're here to teach, go look at your library right now and look what the topic is of most of your books. And I was like, oh my gosh, like there are two, like wealth consciousness and creativity were
wow.
You know, half of my library. And I was like, oh, okay, well I'll start doing that more. You know, so that was one thing, and I think it's actually a really great activity for anybody. Like I know, like, you know, people are buying less books, they have more podcasts and audios and stuff like that, but look in that library of the things you read, the things you listen to, and look what the main themes are of what you're attracted to. And that's a pointer that will help, you know, you point in the direction. And then, you know, I did a community class for, I think I've shared that with you. I did a community class for like 15 years. Like every Tuesday I showed up no matter who was there. I just did it on donation, and I expressed what was coming through, the ideas, the principles that were helping me in my life, and I was sharing that. And as I did that, I noticed there were certain things that I lit up around. Like there were certain classes that people were like, oh my gosh, like people left the class feeling like they had like changed their whole life. And I was like so pumped I couldn't sleep that night. And I started looking at what those were. And I went, oh, okay, these are the things that light me up, that when I'm actually being it, lights up the people around me, right? And so, because there's a lot of things that you love to do that you're excited about, but doesn't really get other people excited. That's more like your hobbies, right? And the things that light you up, that when you talk about it with other people and it lights them up, or it makes some kind of impact, then you're moving in the direction of those things that are your things to bring the world.
Yes, most definitely. Which brings us to whisper mapping, which is the first course that was the thing that ignited what I now call Quest, because I've kind of took the horns on that and said, you know what, I'm creating this. So when and my gosh, Megan, you gave me so many pieces to that, and I'm going to be forever grateful. I'm still utilizing that whisper map compass, which is like whisper, choice, possibility, whisper, choice, possibility. And in a lot of ways, I live my life based on that little compass there. Do you want to talk about, how whisper mapping is still working in your life and coming through, and how you utilize it, and or maybe not? Like, what else has transpired since we did whisper mapping?
Yes. I would say that, I have a program that I run called Creatorpreneur, and it's kind of a mastermind isn't quite the right word, because it's not about mine, but it's a collective of creatives that really kind of ping off of each other, and I really look at helping people find and this word. I mean, I kind of had this idea coming into our whisper mapping program that I brought into our whisper mapping program. Was called the Creator Code, which is how do you authentically create? How is that for you? And be it being an organic creator or a systematic creator or somewhere in between or whatever. And it's no matter where you are in creation, their instinct is more potent than intellect, I think. And so when you take, if you try to head trip stuff, you'll stop your product, your forward movement faster than anything. But if you follow those whispers, or you call it intuitions, instinct, whatever, if you follow that, oh, what about that? It always moves creation forward, and, in any kind of moment, I think that original compass that was created in whisper mapping, there's so many applications for it. Right? And it's make a choice, follow the whisper, create something. You know what I mean? If you're stuck, okay, create something, make a doodle, do something, because that will open a whisper. A choice will open a whisper. And it's if you just do one of those things on the compass, something else will emerge. And I feel like there's a lot of so many different applications for that, but at the end of the day, Jeneth, it's if people don't have permission to follow that instinct, right? If they're not giving that space to follow the instinct, then they're just going to be copycatting however else someone else is doing it, or it's so easy to get where one of the reasons that I came to you is that I had bought a lot of lies in the marketing industry about systems and formulas and the 5 steps, and it was killing me. I was boxing myself. And then you're like, well, why don't you just follow the whispers? Why don't you just follow the energy? Because that's how you create the best. It's oh yeah, and in that, then you actually can innovate and not just replicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I could go on forever about how that still applies and how I'm still playing with it and using it. But, that's probably the crux of it is no matter where I am, no matter what I'm teaching, I am giving people permission to follow the energy, to follow the whispers, and follow the whispers of expression. I would say in Live Your Magic that it plays out that way. It's somebody is talking and I can see something rising in them. There's a dynamic shift happening even as they're talking about that thing, right? And I'm do that more, turn it up, do that more, stand up and do that,
Yeah,
it's keep going with that.
Wow, that's gosh, you just brought something new in just by saying that. And maybe you were already aware of it, but it's almost that you are a whisperer. Like, you were doing that before we even had this session or had this, recording, right? But you were going, there's something else there. Like, you were really aware, and I was also aware, but the way you were aware seemed very different. It's almost that you hone in to people's underlying subconscious, maybe subconscious consciousness is what I want that to call that. Like, where there's
that's
like
cool.
Yeah, it's not their subconscious, like they've already created it as a construct, but it's like the subconscious consciousness that they're not yet aware of, they're not yet going to acknowledge, and it's that stream of underlying energy that comes through the body, yet it's not awake yet. It's almost, Megan, that you awake that. Wow. And that's like it's like you awake that underlying current of whispers. Wow. Cool.
That's
cool. But that is what you do. I mean, I know that you do. I've seen you work with people. I've seen you in, events, sort of. I mean, I've seen you do Facebook Lives. I've seen you, I've worked with you as, in many, many ways. And I know that, and I didn't really have words for that, but that is what's happening is there's this, consciousness coming through them. And you're like, oh, there's consciousness. Awake to that. Acknowledge that. You are that. And you're helping them awake to their genius or their greatness or their magic or whatever you want to call it. It's exciting. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
I'm loving that so much. I am loving that awareness because like my head is flashing to all these different moments, right? As long as I can remember when people were talking about some aspect of their magic or genius, I would have this visceral response in my body, like a turn on in my body. Like my body would say, that. And I would just say, do that more. Like, could you teach others to do that? And there are so many people that have businesses and have like, that became their sort of life path, not even just in coaching sessions, sitting on a bus, and going, that. And it would come, there was some visceral experience that I would have in my body when there was some consciousness rising, right? And I think that there's something that my body facilitates even beyond when I say that, do that more, that like brings forward their own whispers, their own gifts, capacities. And it's not something that I went to school for. It's just something, part of my organic magic that's part of who I be. And that's really true. And I haven't really known how to speak to that. Like when, a client is going to hire you, how do you say, well, they're like, what's your process? What am I going to learn? I'm like, well, you're going to get turned on. I don't know. I have no idea else how to say that to you, but that's what's going to happen. And so I love this, how you said it about that I am like awakening their whispers, but that I am like kind of a whispering magician, like I'm helping to midwife those whispers that have been in them, that have been suppressed, depressed, put off to the side, compartmentalized or whatever. And I'm like, come and play. So that's really cool. I love that. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. Well, I think in a lot of ways you already knew that, and in another way it was just like, whoo, oh yes, that would be the best way to describe it. I mean, there's also you seeing the underlying crap that they've bought and the lies that they've bought, and you clearing that too, like all the subconscious stuff that they're unwilling to see, you awaken them to that. And I think that that's just, I mean, of all the people that I know, you are the one that's like, and maybe it is like that, there, you need to get rid of that or clear that, right? Or you need to, right, you need to pay attention to that. Or, you know, it seems that you have worked this capacity of really awakening whispers. And, you know, and that really seems to be what I'm beginning to really fall into, is awakening these, you know, not just the whispers in me, but especially the whispers in others. I'm actually so much better at awakening the whispers in others than in myself sometimes.
Well, I think that was what was so dynamic about our first conversations, is we were doing that for each other, consciously, unconsciously, right? As you were like talking and showing me myself in a way of, and how that was actually quote unquote viable, like that actually was good, or, you know, could work or something. I don't know how to express that. It was like, oh my God, Jeneth, and I remember saying this to you, like, I said, do you know how many me's there are out there that, like, they need this permission to go their own way, to create their own way, to undefine creation and let themselves be the creators that they are, right? And it's like it was such a gift to me, because you were awakening that up in me, and then I in turn went, look what you just did for me. You need to do this. Like, I don't know if you want to do this, but there's a whole lot of me's that are looking for this, you know, and
right.
I feel like there was just this beautiful dance and pinging.
No, definitely. I would not be doing what I'm doing in the way I'm doing it now if it wasn't for you. Because before I was just a great coach, and a great coach that could facilitate a lot of things and, quote unquote, teach a lot of things. Right? I could also teach them the whole online marketing side if they really care. But we actually found together that harnessing and following the energy would be far greater than teaching and telling them anything. Although I'm probably going to have some teachers on this series that have actually helped me too. So just caveat. There's parentheses around that, you guys.
Well, what I would say is that, like, when I was like trying to figure out this online world, right, and I was taking these courses, and I hadn't allowed the whisper really of what I was here to be and do those energies. I hadn't freed up enough of that to actually take advantage of any of that. And now, like, because so much more of that's freed up, that when I find a system that feels like it might facilitate more, then I actually can apply those things and find my way to do it. And so it's not really either or, but sometimes to try to find a marketing system before you freed up enough of you is like you won't utilize it in the same way. So I think they really work together.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I will often say, one of the people that I'm bringing on taught me how to do story branding. And I often say, when you're ready for story branding, here is a person for you. And, you kind of just brought that up. I mean, that was the whisper. Like, I need help, and I would like to do this, or Facebook ads, or Instagram stories, or Instagram lives, right? Like, there is still a little bit that you have to learn to do even an Instagram live.
Mhm.
And, and then there's the people that also do them all prettied up and with their matching clothes that match their brand and things like that, which, yeah, it's that. Sometimes it's nice. Sometimes it, doesn't really matter and nobody notices. So, I think there's also those pieces in it that, you know what, if you've got the message and it resonates and you can do it in a way that it can actually attract people, then you got it. You know, especially like you, Megan, you're just good and profound, and people will tell other people about you just because you're great and profound. And I think that that's sometimes some of the importance of all of this.
Mhm. Well, I think too that comes back to the expression bit, is that I actually feel like I can not back my words, but I'm matching who I am with how I'm facilitating and how I'm teaching, and so it impacts people in a particular way because it's authentic, and it gets received. And so I would say, like, everybody's profound in their own way. Most people don't even know it because they haven't bothered to express enough to see how profound they might be, you know? And so it's like
Agreed.
really like cultivating that expression and continuing, just keep opening your mouth, or, you know, drawing that thing or writing that thing or singing that thing, because it will lead you to good places.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn a right corner here. So with creation with you lately, like, is there an underlying energy to the effort that it takes? Or, because I know when we used to work together, it seemed like there was this underlying energy of, I don't know how to make this move, right? And then it was like, I'm trying to make this move, and then there was just this little bit of like slowness. Or, you know, for the lack of a better word, I want to say constipation, right? Like, it was like, oh, come on. Like, it just wasn't fast enough, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that would be a better word. So now that, I mean, I see you traveling globally, what are you asking for next?
Well, I would say that the creative path is always going to have places and spaces of constipation, you know, because you're, by its very nature, if you're creating, you're bringing something about that hasn't been before, even if it hasn't been before in your life, you know, and like other people have done it, but you just haven't done it. And so there's this, I think it really has to do with your relationship with the unknown. And if you're comfortable in the unknown, if you're comfortable with not knowing, if you're comfortable with taking action, even when you don't know what the F you're doing, you know, and then willing to actually learn from it, you know, like, oh yeah, that was that, and that didn't work because of, you know, that's, you know, being able to take the feedback and grow yourself, then you can keep moving. And what I would say is that I've developed a better relationship with the unknown, and that has to do with like following enough whispers and not dying that I realize I can follow them, you know. And there's this place where so right now you ask me what I want, and it's like, okay, like I've started to craft this sort of global movement called Live Your Magic, and it has become kind of a movement. I mean, I've had people that have been to 7 of the 8 Live Your Magics, because they want to come back, they want to contribute. They got all the stuff woken up, and they want to see other people waking up, and they want to contribute to that. And so it's like musicians, and like music has become part of it, live music, and people like bringing their stuff to it. And so I have this wacky idea to literally have a traveling circus where I have like a magic jet and a magic school bus, and we take it on the road. So the energy people and the musicians and the artists who are sort of drawn to this work and drawn to grow this work in the world are kind of gathering. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to actually just travel around? Because it allows me to I don't want to start at the basics in Live Your Magic. I don't have prerequisites for it, but how do I kind of start with a big energy and not go into, oh, those people aren't in this place, so I have to slow it down. How I've seen to do that is when the grads come back and they're in this, they become this energy that people can't, like, they can't say no to almost, right? And so there's this way that, like, when you say what's next, two things come to mind is doing it more profitably so that I can grow it and so I can play with it and, like, make it what it can be and what it wants to be in the world. So it's like looking at what's it going to take to monetarily grow it to that place. And so that's what's next. That's my next unknown is, well, how would that come? Private jet, that's going to be kind of expensive. You know, like, it's
right.
not, it's like,
yeah.
But I believe, like, I'm really getting that the crazier the idea is and the crazier the ask is, that the more, like, energy that it brings. I don't know how to explain that. Like, who knows if that will happen in this lifetime? Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll have a traveling bus or get to a place where, you know, I can pay for 5 or 6 people to go on the road with me or 10 people or whatever. But it's like there's something about that feeds me, that feeds the project, that feeds the growth, that I trust. So I'm just going to keep asking for it and continuing to grow it in the unknown until I can see a way to institute it and actualize it in a real tangible way. So I would say making it more profitable. But it's not just that. I think you could kind of tell from my answer that it's not just making it profitable, but it's making it what it could be, what it wants to be.
Well, I would say what I would think from your answer would be make it total ease. Like, woohoo, more fun, because the money's always there, right? Because you're not you do so much and you're not necessarily about money, is what I get. Like, there are some people I talk to that really, they only do it if they get paid for it, and they're usually great at it. They're worth, you know, but you're really worth it, and it would be really nice for you to see that you get paid for it just as abundantly. And I know in a lot of ways you do get paid abundantly for what you do. It would just be nice to have more of them.
Well,
yeah.
You know, I was asked in my, you can go to my YouTube channel and see the promotional video for Live Your Magic, and I was, it's kind of a combination of, like, moments from the class and an interview with me. And the interview was really good, like, just in some of the questions that he asked. He said, but, you know, why are you really doing this? And what popped for me was having magical playmates. As I feel like I was always the one having the most fun. And it's like, but I want to play with people. I don't want to just sit in a vacuum, you know? And, like, I would say that, like, being able to include people in this vision and having them get paid abundantly for the magic that they are, right? And it's like that, it helps me open up to actually desiring the resources and choosing the resources if in a way that I wouldn't if it was just me. Because, like you said, money isn't my motivating factor, but I really love travel. I really love to stay in nice places and have cool experiences. So I kind of am a little bit of, like, I love an aspect of luxury. And it's kind of a weird thing because I'm not about money. But when I actually I tap these places of something that's beyond me, then it's like, oh, wouldn't that be fun? And then I find that I can accelerate money because it's like, and choose it at a greater level because it's not just about me.
Yeah, that was so beautifully said. So beautifully said. Wow. Yeah, you know, the one thing that I am a little jealous about, or envious, maybe envious always moves you forward to seek it, is sometimes things that come through you that's just like so beautifully said. And I know that's from the years of you doing this work. It's just like, yes, it's that. Well, cool. So why don't you, so tell everyone how they can become a creatorpreneur or move forward in being your private client or wherever you want them to go.
Well, I would say maybe there's a couple of places that people could kind of tap into the energy of Megan. You can go just on my Facebook page or my Instagram page and kind of look at my lives and look at some things that energy that I'm putting out in the world. If you go to my website, which is megansillito.com, spelled MEGAN, S as in Sam, ILLIT as in Tom, O.com, there is all kinds of information about Live Your Magic, where I'm going to be next in the world. Like this year, I'm going to be in Mexico in October. I'm going to be in Maui doing Live Your Magic, and also a leadership program for the grads of Live Your Magic called Magic Makers, which I'm super excited about. And then in the end of the year, New Zealand. So those are just some places and spaces that you can kind of tap into. And I have some really great gifts if you sign up on my website to get my newsletter, and I promise I won't bother you much because I'm not very consistent with newsletters, but I will send things out to tools and tips and videos, but also information about, what I'm doing next. And if you follow me on Facebook, I'm very organic, so I get something comes through me and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a telecall on that, and so I'll pop up on Facebook and just tell people that's what I'm doing. And I have a radio show that is now, I think we have 150 episodes or more. It's called Love, Life, and All Things Weird, and it's on Inspired Choices Network. Or you can pop onto my page. It's called Weird on the Air with Megan and Suzanne, and it's a Facebook group that kind of is connected to the radio show. But that's a place, my podcasts are a place so you can get free information. Like some of my podcasts, I think, are $1,000 classes. Like stuff that comes through is like, well, that was good. I'd have paid a lot of money for that,
Agreed.
So you probably experienced that too. Is like the free thing is like something comes through that is like, whoa. And that's part of being in the commitment to express, right? I think podcasting is a great way to commit yourself to expression. So Love, Life, and All Things Weird on Inspired Choices Network. But basically, if you go to my website, it will give you information about all the things that I've just spoken about.
And if they get on the newsletter, then they can pretty much follow you. And are most of those sent on the newsletter? Yeah.
Pardon?
Are most of those sent to your newsletter subscribers or not? Okay.
Yes. And oftentimes when I will do like a free webinar or something like that, my newsletter subscribers will get that. If you missed it live or you missed it on Facebook or whatever. And then if I'm doing a pop-up class or I'm doing a telesummit or whatever, that will always be in the newsletter. So you can get that. You can follow me that way, probably the best.
Perfect. Oh, gosh. I feel like I could talk to you forever, but I think this is the time that we wrap up the call. So thank you. This is great. And you guys, I just want to invite you that if you have questions for Megan after this interview, go ahead and go to the Facebook group page that we've sent you in your email and ask questions, and we will go ahead and type up and respond to them. And if you have anything specific that you would like to discuss, I want you to go ahead and ask that there as well. So thank you guys for being a part of this series, and thank you for being present during these live calls or the recording. It's just such a great joy and honor that you are a part of this journey. So thank you, and we will talk probably tomorrow. And we will edit the end of this call. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Jeneth.
Thank you. Hold on just a second. Let me just have a little bit of space here.